Hi, Brett here, and I'm down in Florida, and I decided to take a walk and take you with me and show you the trail that my dad and I have walked, that I wrote the song about, the unmarked trail, and talk about some music and some other things. So let's get started. So this is the trail that, and I love this. There's actually two trails. This one's just gorgeous. You probably don't see it. You won't hear it, but there's little lizards skittering around in front, crossing the trail, actually laying in the sun, and I'm startling them. And so I wanted to just show you. On the left, you won't see it yet, but on the left is a bay that if you follow it will actually go out to Tampa Bay. And on the right now is sort of a sanctuary, and you come to some ponds and lakes, and as we get there I'll show you those. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, I'm teaching a workshop on overcoming fear. And you know, I used to be absolutely terrified to play. If people would jam, I would actually go and hide somewhere to get away from it. So I get the whole being afraid to play in public. And the fact is now I'm not afraid at all. I don't care. It doesn't scare me, doesn't bother me. By the way, here to the left, you probably can't see them very well, but in the mangroves down there are some ibises, and white birds. I'm not sure you can see them in there, but let's see if I can get over here. There they are. So, you know, there's different reasons people are afraid to play in public, and I get that. And one of the reasons is just nobody wants to feel stupid. You know, nobody wants to make a mistake. And, you know, and I get that all completely. But, you know, sometimes there's another reason. And this is something that I have dealt with. And I'm going to say something that will probably offend some of you, but let me explain myself. Sometimes people are afraid because there are certain people who try to put you down, who try to make you feel silly or stupid about your playing. And I'm going to take another pause because we have a lake and we have a bird, I believe an egret, sitting right here. And we'll walk down and hopefully you can get a good view of it. Trying to keep it in focus. There we go. And I'm not sure if that was a turtle or a little gator there. And I'm not getting distracted. I just have to stop and show you things. That condo right there is my dad's. He's on the top floor, right around the middle. So sometimes people, and by the way, even in, this is going to probably get me in trouble, even in the professional world, there are professionals who can be that way. And by the way, if that offends any professionals, and I really hope it doesn't, but the only ones who would be offended is if they are like that. And again, there's not a lot of them, but there are a few who just think that they are, you know, God's gift to the banjo world or the dulcimer world or whatever world it is. And again, it shouldn't offend anybody. And if it does, you're probably guilty of that. Anyhow, I know players, I know somebody who at one time actually made me on several occasions feel very, very stupid or was very critical, and to the point I almost stopped going to festivals. So what I'm going to say is this, and this is just life. You know, sometimes people are just, and I'm going to say it, stupid. And that probably offends somebody, but you know, I was walking into Ohio Pal State Park, which is in southwestern Pennsylvania, and there was when you go across the bridge, you walk out, and there's a place called Fern Cliff, and when you walk down Fern Cliff, it goes down beside the river, And at the end of that, there's some big falls there. And at the end there is a place, as you're walking down, there's a place that said, and a big picture, big sign, do not sit with feet over ledge, Copperhead Den. So big sign, big warning, and every time I walked by, there were people sitting with their feet over the ledge. Most of you know that I like reptiles. I'm going to take a pause just for a second. This is the bay, and I've kayaked out there. I could actually probably walk across this. This is so shallow in this area, but if you followed it to the right, that would actually take you out to Tampa Bay. And let me show you one more thing, just because I think this is cool. Remember, we were talking about the snake den, but keep this in your mind. Don't get too distracted. These are mangroves, which are so cool to me. You see all these roots sticking out, and what's so cool is these roots, most of them do not even go into the ground. Some of them do, but many of them do not. Here's one right here. See if I can show it to you. I apologize for that. But this here, this is a root off of that tree, and all these roots that are sticking out, what they do is they're like straws that suck up that water. You can see them at the edge of the water there. They are not connected to anything. There is a central root and some closer roots, but these ones that stick out, they're sort of like straws. Very cool. Anyhow, so you know, people are sitting there, and I like snakes and I like reptiles, and I've hunted them. And so what I did one time, when no one was there, I bent way over the edge of that ledge with my camera, had somebody hold my ankles, and at arm's length, it was completely safe. I took a picture, and I don't know what I was taking a picture of because I couldn't see it, but I was putting the camera backwards, and right at the very edge, under that ledge, were 3 copperheads. So the next year I went down, and that den was completely concreted up, and all the openings were completely concreted up, which didn't make me happy. And I went to the park. You know, understand it's a state park, that should be left there. I went to the park office, and I said, so what happened with this copperhead den? And they said, well, we had to concrete it up. And I said, what happened to the copperheads? They said, we relocated them. I'm hoping they got them all, who knows. But I said, why did you concrete it? And they said, well, we had the big sign, we had the big picture, and people were putting their legs over the edge and people were getting bitten. And I said, people sometimes are just so stupid. And the woman who was at the desk put her hand on her mouth and kind of gasped, and she said, I cannot believe you said people are stupid. And I kind of laughed, and I said, well, here's the difference. You can't say that because you work here. I can say it because I don't. And she kind of chuckled, and she said, I said, let me ask you a question. If you see a sign that says, do not dangle feet over edge, danger copperheads, and people do it, would you consider that to be stupid? And she said, yes, it is. And she said, you would not believe the number of people who ask if they can go swimming above the falls, and which is suicidal. And I said, you mean farther up the river? And she said, no, directly above the falls. So, you know, sometimes, and this is just the facts, people are stupid. And before I go any farther, because I'm going to take a break, I'm talking about me. Not some people, all people are stupid at some time. I have been very stupid in the past. I will be stupid in the future. And every day I do stupid things, just like most of you. Sometimes we just forget. So I'm going to take a break just for a second, because to the right, I think this is absolutely beautiful, very serene, very peaceful, but this is just kind of a pine forest. I'm not going deep into it. Actually, it doesn't go very deep because it'll open up. But this is just, you know, the floor of this is just, walking on this is like walking on carpet. I'm letting it sink in that we're all stupid. And the trail's just right there to the left. So you're not really missing anything there. Okay, back on the trail. So, you know, a lot of times it's real easy to just say things without thinking, especially on Facebook, on the internet, and social media. People just say things with no filter. And, you know, it's very hard to understand sometimes what somebody even means. By the way, here's another lake. This one's pretty big. Last time I walked it, I saw 3 alligators, 2 huge ones. All 3 were big, but 2 were really big. So I lost track of my thinking. I asked you not to get distracted, then I did. Oh, the internet, Facebook. You know, a lot of times somebody will say something, and I've gotten caught up in this. So I'm talking to me. I'm guilty of this. Somebody will say something, but because you can't see the inflection in the person's, or hear the inflection in the voice, and you can't see the person's expression, you can't see their eyes, you can't see as they're talking, it can be interpreted many different ways. Somebody could just say, "That's interesting," and it could sound like that, or it could sound like, "That's interesting," or it could be, "That's interesting," sarcastically. So what we do is we interpret how we're thinking, and then we respond back. Usually if we're thinking negatively, which we often do, then we respond back in a negative way. So, you know, I think really Facebook, and I love Facebook, don't get me wrong, it's how I do what I do, but because of Facebook and the internet, we have become very rude people, and say things to someone that we would never say to their face. And it's very easy to have things escalate. So with that in mind, I guess what I'm saying, and let me go back to the professionals. You know, most professionals would never treat somebody who is following them rudely or that way. But I know people, I know a couple situations as where somebody new is coming up, and the person who's coming up learning gets as good as the professional, and then they get very standoffish and very push away, that kind of a thing. That's what I was referring to. So I just want to clarify that. Here's my point. You know, if everybody would just filter and think. I have a friend who was trying to quit smoking. She posted it on Facebook, and one of the first responses was, "Well, then you're going to get fat." And I'm sitting there thinking, really? That's your encouragement? That's your thinking? And I just, you know, I don't get it. But it's because people just say things without thinking at all. And again, if we would actually look at ourselves and realize, I'll give you an example. I remember pulling out onto a main road. I was coming from the right, and I was going to make a left, and I was sitting waiting, trying to get out, and a car was coming, and I had to wait till it passed, but then at the last minute it turned in, so I could have gone, and then I had to sit and wait for another line of traffic. And I remember sitting there going, you know, I don't know that I said idiot or whatever, but I probably thought, have you ever thought of a turn signal, you know? And then I looked down and I saw that I was turning left without my turn signal on. So I was doing the exact same thing that I was upset with the other guy for. So I think everyone knows what I'm saying. And here's what I'm telling you, you know, whether you're teaching a workshop, whether you're teaching a class, whether you're in church, whether you're in school, it doesn't really matter. There are people that you will have to deal with, and there are people who just don't have tact. There are people who just say things. There are people who, when you try to play an instrument publicly, will make you feel stupid. They're out there. It's going to happen. They're not common, but it only takes one. My point is, you do not have to let that affect you. You know, bullies, and most people get this, except for bullies. Usually bullies are very insecure. When people criticize you for your music, it's because they're trying to make themselves feel better about their own. When bullies pick on people in any aspect of life, it's because they're trying to make themselves seem, you know, that it lifts them up, which is really a horrible way to do it, but that's just, again, our nature. That's the nature of people. We've all done it at some point. Whether we realized it was bullying or not, we've all realized that we've done things like that. So I guess what I'm saying is, because somebody acts like that does not mean you have to respond in likewise, nor do you have to let them make you feel that way. If you realize that's why they're doing it, that takes away a lot of the power that they would have over you. I'll give you one thing. My playing partner, Phyllis Woods Brown, she had told me, and I've heard her do this, somebody will do something stupid while, you know, they're driving, and she'll make an excuse for them. You know, she'll say, well, you know, maybe they're on their way to the hospital or something else. And I think in my head, well, maybe they're just stupid, but I don't say that. And maybe I do, but the point is, what Phyllis does is actually a very good idea. You know, we don't know. We don't know. I remember reading something, and it was probably on Facebook, and it was talking about somebody on the airplane whose kids were just kicking the seats and just totally out of control, and the father was just sitting there with his head slumped, and it come to find out that he had just lost his wife unexpectedly, and he just was dealing with grief and completely out of it, not even realizing what was going on around him. So, by the way, this is the end of the trail. Actually, you can keep walking around. It'll go around this condominium right here. My dad usually likes to do that and walk through the center of the buildings. I like to go back, and I'm going to start back just to finish the conversation, and then I'll let you go. So here's what I'm saying. Don't let anybody make you feel stupid. Chances are, if somebody's doing that, chances are it's a peer. It's somebody else who plays. It's somebody else who wants that control. It's somebody else who's feels bad about their music, so by knocking you down. But here's my point: don't let that happen. I've had this happen to me. I can tell you stories, and it was really just really one or two people, but it was to the point I almost stopped going to festivals simply because of them. I was ready to just quit. So what my point is, I came to the place with me. I came to the place where I don't care, you know. And the fact is, and that's not the workshop, that is mentioned in the workshop, but the fact is, I really don't care. No, I don't want to make mistakes, but guess what? If I make a mistake tomorrow morning, I'm breathing. Tomorrow morning, I'm healthy. The audience remembers it for a second, if that. We remember it forever because we are extremely, extremely self-critical. So if your reason for not wanting to play is because you're afraid you're going to make a mistake, that is something I cover in the workshop, very in-depth so. If your reason is because somebody has made you feel stupid, let it go. It's not worth it. Every one of us has to deal with people every day, and the problem is, the people we seem to have the most problem with are probably people just like us. Every one of us has said, done, responded, reacted in a bad way, and if we would just keep that in mind, we'd be a whole lot more tolerant and a whole lot nicer with everyone else. So I hope that's encouraged you, and I will let you go. I hope you enjoyed the little tour. By the way, well, I can't really show you right now. I was going to show you my dad's condo from here. But you see there's several rows, and his is to the right. Let me get up here. By the way, there's a big egret across the lake there. Not sure you can see it. These cameras, yesterday I got a video of an alligator that I made post that was laying on the side, and when I got up to it, it took off. But it looked a lot farther away than it actually was, and I don't really know how to zoom at the time I am recording. So, but I hope you enjoyed the walk. You can see the trail here. And by the way, somebody had suggested that I take a video or have a video of the unwalked trail, because I never really posted a video of me playing that. So what I decided to do was make the video on the trail itself, and I'll have that up in a few days. I actually should have it finished today, and if it is, it will go up right after I get this one up. So thank you again. Hope I didn't bore you to tears. Hope you enjoyed the walk and the view, and my apologies to all my friends up north. This is really nice down here, temperature wise, and but I'm looking forward to getting back home and getting back to work. I'm trying to do stuff down here, but I really can't do as much here as I would do back home. So thanks so much. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.